Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Lowe, your game master, with your next lesson, which is lesson 10-2 on developing a formula for volume. When we last left off in the previous lesson, we were talking about volume, and we were measuring volume using cubic units or small cubes, trying to see how many cubes could fill a space. Now what you'll see is we have this three-dimensional object, and we want to develop a formula to make the math a little bit easier for us. So when you are looking at developing a formula for volume and we have a three-dimensional shape, and that three-dimensional shape will always be a certain number of units in length. So this line right here will be our length, and I always use that as length so that it is how long is it from left to right. And then we want to take a look at our unit of width, and our unit of width will be this dimension, so that dimension that makes it look like it's popping out of your screen or going into your screen. That'll be our width. And then the final dimension will be this little green line right here. This will be our height, or how high that object is. So you can see we have three dimensions. We have length, we have width, and we have height. And when you are developing a formula, if the dimensions of a rectangular prism are given as length, so here's the length, that's our how long is it, width, this would be how wide it is, and height, this will be how tall it is or how high it is, then use the following formula to find volume. And it's quite simple, guys. Here we go. Volume equals length times width times height. And you're always going to be multiplying these. So if our length was, I don't know, let's say 7 centimeters. And our width was equal to 4 centimeters. And our height was equal to 3 centimeters. To find volume, all we have to do is say volume equals length times width times height. And I'm okay if you don't want to use lowercase. If you'd rather use uppercase letters, that's fine with me. You just always want to do this in 3 steps. So step 1 is going to be rewrite that formula. Volume equals length times width times height. Step 2 is going to be plug in your numbers or plug in your variables. So I don't know what V is. That's what I'm trying to find out. My length, we said, was 7 centimeters times my width, we said, was 4 centimeters times my height, which we said is 3 centimeters. So I've color-coded everything for you to kind of make it easier for you to view so you can look at it. So now we need to do our math. So we are going to multiply 7 times 4. And we know that 7 times 4 is 28. And in this case, because we're multiplying centimeters times centimeters, this will be centimeters to the second power times 3 centimeters. So now we're taking centimeters squared and we're timesing it by another set of centimeters. So let's go over here and we're going to do our math. I'm going to do it off to the side because I cannot do 28 times 3 in my head. So we're going to do 28 times 3. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 2 is 6. Plus 2 is 8. So 28 times 3 is 84. 84. And when I multiply centimeters squared times centimeters, my answer will have to be in centimeters to the third power, or centimeters cubed. And remember, when we are dealing with volume, it has to be measured in cubic units. And in this case, our units is centimeters, and cubic units would be units to the third power. So it's quite simple, guys. All you're doing is you're dealing with volume equals length times width times height. You are, number 1, rewriting that equation every single time. Number 2, plugging in your variables, so whatever your length is, whatever your width is, whatever your height is. And number 3, which I forgot to number, is solving the equation. So let's go ahead and do a couple of examples for us, and we'll continue to move forward. So let's take a look at what I have here for this next page. So I know my equation will always be, number one, volume equals length times width times height. I know my length is 7 meters in this case. So this is number two. Volume equals 7 meters times, I know my width, how wide is it or how deep does it go, is 7 meters. And my height, which is how tall it is 7 meters. So now I got to do the math. So now we are solving for volume. I know 7 times 7, or 7 meters times 7 meters, is 49 meters squared times 7 meters. Because remember, we're taking this length times width, and then, which is right here, 49 meters squared, and we're multiplying it, that should be a time sign, we're multiplying it by another 7 meters. So now I cannot do 49 times 7 in my head, so I want to do that math, and I can just do it right here. I know that 7 times 9 is 63, carry my 6. 7 times 4 is 28, and 28 plus 6 is 34. So now volume equals 343, and I need that unit of measurement here, meters squared times another set of meters, is going to be meters to the third power. That's key, meters to the third power. So again, it's a three-step process. Length times width times height. Do the math. Make sure your unit is to the third power. Let's do one more example. We'll turn the page here. Now I've got this weird looking one. And I have, says 3 inches here. So, well, let's go number one. We need to rewrite the equation. Volume equals length times width times height. And let's go ahead and get this so we can actually see it. That would be helpful, I think. There we go. That's a little bit better. Number two, we're going to plug in our numbers. Volume equals, my length is 3 inches. My width is 6 inches. And my height is 8 inches. So we are going to do our math. We're going to multiply. 3 times 6 is 18. And because it's inches times inches, that is inches squared, times 8 inches. So now we want to go do our math. I can't do 18 times 8 in my head, so I need to do 18 times 8 off to the side. 8 times 8 is 64. Put my 4 down, carry my 6. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 6 is 14. That leaves me with a volume of, or V equals, 144 inches cubed, or inches to the third power. As you go through today's lesson, you've got to understand that I need to see 3 steps in all of your work that you show me in order for you to gain XP and your reward. So I want 3 steps on every single problem. Even if the math is easy, even if the numbers are easy, the dimensions, you still want to make it volume equals length times width times height. Because trust me, guys, as we move further, these numbers are going to get more complicated. And so we are going to need to make sure we're writing everything down. All right, you are off and running. Make sure you do all the math in your notebook. Be sure to share that notebook with your game master so that you can earn your credit and earn your points. And I will see you at our next lesson. Have a good one.